Welcome back. Let's be real. Marriage is supposed to be the finish line, right? You win her heart, settle down, check the boxes, and then you both live happily ever after in a haze of Netflix, shared calendars, and birthday dinners with her family. Except she starts pulling away. She gets colder, stops responding like she used to, flirts a little too comfortably online. Suddenly, you're not her adventure anymore. You're her routine, her wallpaper, her fallback. And it hits you. She might betray you not because she doesn't love you, but because she's bored. Or worse, because you lost yourself trying to keep her. This video isn't about blaming women. It's about understanding the psychological truth behind their behavior and reclaiming your peace, purpose, and masculine self-respect before you get played in a game you never agreed to join. Let's dive in. Number 1. When her effort fades. Understanding the shift after I do. There's a quiet shift that happens after marriage, one that most men don't expect, and even fewer are prepared for. Before the vows, affection flows easily. She dresses up for you. She responds with warmth. She's emotionally present, but sometime after the ring slips onto her finger, the energy changes. The attentiveness fades. The affection becomes routine, or worse, non-existent. And the man begins to wonder, did I do something wrong? No, you didn't, but you did misunderstand something fundamental. What you're seeing is not about you losing value. It's about her no longer feeling the need to constantly signal hers. Before marriage, a woman is selective. She filters, she invests, and she puts her best self forward not out of manipulation, but out of instinct. Evolution has wired women to attract strong, stable providers when it matters most. But once the commitment is secured and stability is locked in, that instinctive drive to perform and prove can start to dwindle. The prize is won. The chase is over. And often, so is the mystery. Psychologist David Buss noted in his evolutionary studies that selectivity decreases once commitment is achieved. This isn't cynicism, it's biology. When safety is attained, the focus shifts. For some women, this leads to comfort. For others, complacency. For a few, even restlessness. The external world begins to sparkle again. Not because it offers more, but because it offers something different. Excitement, novelty, ego strokes she no longer seeks from you because she already has you. Here's the mistake most men make: they try harder. They buy gifts, write texts, plan weekends, hoping to reignite the same spark with the same tools. But what worked before won't work now because she's not reacting to romance. She's reacting to familiarity. And you can't fight staleness with the same ingredients that created it. So instead of chasing her attention, return to the man you were before she had it. Not the guy trying to win her approval, the guy who had purpose, who had his own life, who had something she had to earn. Shift your focus from getting a reaction to building a direction. When she grows distant, don't lecture. Don't withdraw in silence either. Just respond with calm certainty. I'm here, but I'm focused on my path and mean it. Start learning that skill you shelved. Reconnect with your ambition. Get back in shape, not for her attention, but to reclaim the rhythm of your own momentum, because nothing reawakens polarity more than masculine purpose, and nothing reawakens respect more than boundaries rooted in self-respect. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The truth is, her shift isn't your failure. It's a signal, a reminder that you must remain mysterious not by withholding love, but by remaining in motion. When you stop orbiting her and start orbiting your values again, she'll feel it. She may not always show it, but deep down she'll remember why she was drawn to you in the first place. This isn't about becoming distant. It's about becoming solid. The man who stops performing for affection and starts leading with direction becomes rare in a world addicted to validation. And in relationships, rare is always attractive. So if her affection fades after the vows, don't panic. Return to your edge. Live your values. Reclaim the unpredictability of growth. Not to manipulate her, but to remain the man worth being pursued, even long after the pursuit was supposed to end. Number 2, she craves excitement, not escape. The hidden desires of married women. It starts innocently. A comment she makes about an old friend, a playful smirk she sends to someone over coffee, or maybe it's the sudden increase in selfies on her social media. You tell yourself it's nothing. She loves you. You're married. She wouldn't cross the line, and maybe she won't, but something has shifted and you can feel it. This isn't about betrayal. It's about boredom. When a woman gets married, she doesn't stop being a woman. She just adds roles, wife, mother, partner, but with those roles often comes routine. Emotional patterns become predictable. Affection turns into obligation. The spark gets lost between school runs and tax paperwork, and what's left isn't necessarily unhappiness. It's emotional starvation, not for love, but for energy, for intensity, for that feeling of being desired again, not just needed. So when a married woman flirts lightly with the barista or scrolls through old messages from a college crush, she's not plotting an affair. She's chasing something deeper, the thrill of aliveness. It's a craving to feel seen as more than dependable. It's the inner voice whispering, "Am I still wanted or just expected?" Psychologists Baumeister and Vos pointed this out in their work on the need for meaning and intensity. Routine, while safe, suffocates novelty. The brain stops firing dopamine when everything is familiar, so the mind seeks subtle sparks elsewhere, not out of malice, but out of a primal need for stimulation. Here's where most men make a crucial mistake. They respond emotionally. They get jealous, insecure, or start controlling her space. But reacting to her search for novelty with neediness only confirms what she already feels. The mystery is gone. A stronger path? Don't make her thrill seeking about you. Recognize it as hers. If she flirts, remain calm and grounded. "I'm flattered, but I respect boundaries" is more powerful than sulking or accusing. It shows strength, it reflects mastery, and it subtly reminds her that your value doesn't hinge on her validation. Then redirect your focus not toward her behavior, but toward your own mission. Build, advance, grow, reclaim the energy you once had when you were too busy living to wonder whether you were enough. Women don't want men to orbit around them. They want to feel the pull of a man who orbits something greater. This is where Stoic wisdom cuts through. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Her emotional turbulence is not your invitation to enter the storm. It's your opportunity to stay grounded, to remain solid, to lead not by force but by example. Because here's the truth, what she's chasing isn't another man, it's a feeling. A version of herself that she misses. A mirror that once reflected her beauty, her excitement, her worth. If you become that mirror by living with presence and purpose, she won't need to look outside. But even if she does, you're still untouchable, because your peace is no longer something she can rattle. It's not built on her mood, it's built on your mission. So the next time she pulls away or looks outward, don't take it personally. Take it as a signal, not to chase her, but to return to yourself. Because in a world where everyone seeks attention, the man who needs none is always the most magnetic. Number 3, the affair isn't about you. It's about her escape. It starts with long stares and vague texts. She opens up to you like a confession booth, telling you how unhappy she is, how misunderstood, how stuck. You feel special, chosen, like you've cracked a code no one else could. She gives you pieces of her vulnerability, her laughter, her mystery, and in that illusion, you start to believe it's about you. But it's not. What you're caught in isn't a love story. it's an escape plan, and you're the vehicle, not the destination. Affairs with married women often seduce with the illusion of depth. The secrecy, the late-night talks, the adrenaline of doing something forbidden, they mimic intimacy. But that intensity is rarely about real connection. It's about her trying to feel alive again, about her fleeing a stagnant marriage, emotional neglect, or just her own unfulfilled potential. You're not her solution. You're her distraction from the problem she refuses to face. Psychologist Robert Cialdini explained this pull perfectly with the scarcity principle. When something is forbidden or rare, we overvalue it. That's what affairs do. They don't run on love. They run on limitation. You get just enough to feel hooked, but never enough to feel whole. And here's the trap. Men often mistake her chaos for passion. Her mood swings feel like emotional depth. Her vulnerability feels like a bond. Her secrecy feels like exclusivity. But what you're really experiencing is volatility, not love. And volatility has a shelf life. Eventually it burns out or burns you down. So what's the move? Detach from the fantasy. See the illusion for what it is. If she starts confiding in you about her marriage, don't lean in. Lean back. Say, that sounds hard, but I'm not here to fix your life. You're not her therapist. You're not her savior. And the second you start believing you are, you lose yourself. Redirect that emotional energy. Reclaim your time. Channel it into something that builds you, your fitness, your craft, your circle of men who keep you honest. Journal. Reflect. Get brutally clear about what you want and whether this situation actually gives it to you. Because what she's offering is not a future, it's a performance. A fleeting drama where you're the co-star until she decides to cut the scene. And when that happens, you're left with nothing but wasted time and misplaced hope. Stoic wisdom reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When your thoughts are governed by lust and scarcity, your life becomes reactive. When your thoughts are rooted in clarity and purpose, you reclaim your power. You're not weak for being tempted, but you're foolish if you mistake the thrill of danger for the foundation of love. Respect yourself enough to walk away from what excites you but doesn't nourish you, because the real power isn't in being the exception to her rules. It's in being a man who doesn't entertain relationships that begin in secrecy and end in confusion. You deserve more than fragments. You deserve freedom, and that begins the moment you stop chasing someone else's escape and start building your own direction. Number 4, when emotional intimacy becomes the affair. It rarely starts with a kiss. It starts with a complaint. At first, it sounds harmless, maybe even flattering. She tells you how her husband doesn't listen. She vents about feeling invisible. She texts you at odd hours saying she can't sleep. And for a moment, you feel trusted, important, even noble. You think, I'm just being there for her. But here's the truth. You're not her friend. You're her emotional outlet. And whether you realize it or not, you're already part of a betrayal. Emotional affairs don't announce themselves. They creep in. They wear the mask of empathy, of support, of connection. But what they actually reflect is a breakdown of boundaries. When she prioritizes your attention over her husband's, when she shares with you the thoughts she withholds from him, that's not vulnerability, that's displacement. She's outsourcing intimacy, and you've become the fallback. Psychologist Daniel Goleman called this emotional outsourcing, a failure of regulation. When people feel unheard, unappreciated, or bored in their relationships, they often seek emotional highs elsewhere, not because they're ready to leave, but because they're unwilling to confront what's missing. So instead of facing the uncomfortable truth inside the marriage, they drift. And you, unknowingly, become the emotional crutch that keeps her from walking on her own. But make no mistake, this is still betrayal, not necessarily yours, but you're enabling it. And the most dangerous part? She may not even see it as betrayal. In her mind, she's the victim. She's simply finding someone who listens, someone who understands, someone who doesn't ignore her like he does. The narrative shifts. You become the hero in a story that shouldn't even exist. So what should you do? Call it what it is. When she starts venting too deeply, oversharing her marriage, or texting you for comfort, stop romanticizing your role. Say it plainly, I'm not the right person for this. That sentence may sound cold, but it's one of the most respectful things you can say to yourself and to the truth. Because the moment you become her substitute for emotional connection, you lose your integrity. Instead of feeding the dynamic, shift your energy inward. Go build, create something, pick up the guitar again, sign up for that course you keep postponing, dive into your mission, your real mission, not someone else's emotional rescue operation. This isn't your burden to carry. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once warned, "A man is not free who is not master of himself." Being a man isn't about being available for every woman's emotional crisis. It's about knowing what emotional chaos looks like and not stepping into it just because it's dressed as affection. Sometimes walking away is the only act of leadership you need, and the data backs this up. Emotional intelligence studies confirm that emotional infidelity is often the prelude to physical betrayal. It's not about sex, it's about the slow erosion of boundaries, the unspoken longing for excitement, and the refusal to face hard truths. So be the man who doesn't fall for borrowed intimacy. Be the man who recognizes the pattern before it becomes a prison. You don't have to be cruel, just clear. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to walk with integrity, not illusion. Number 5. Why she stays or leaves. It's never just about love. It's tempting to believe love is the glue, that if you love her hard enough, show up often enough, bend just enough, she'll stay. But love, real or not, isn't the foundation of loyalty. Respect is, and the moment she loses it, everything else unravels. You might not even see it happening. It starts small. You let her mock your ambitions as jokes. You stay quiet when she criticizes your values in front of friends. You tell yourself, pick your battles. But this isn't strategy, it's surrender. Every time you let it slide in the name of harmony, you're teaching her something. Not about how kind or patient you are, but about what you'll tolerate. And women don't admire what they can control. Psychology backs this up. According to Buss 1989, respect is a psychological signal for strength. And strength, not niceness, not availability, is what holds a woman's loyalty. When you overplease, when you chase approval instead of living by principles, you're trading admiration for acceptance. And that trade is never worth it. You might think you're keeping the relationship together by being easygoing, but in reality, you're eroding the very thing that keeps it alive. The respect she once had for your words, your presence, your decisions, it starts to fade. Not because she's cruel, but because nature doesn't admire weakness. Not in relationships, not in life. So what does strength look like? It looks like calmly drawing a line. When she raises her voice or makes cutting remarks, you don't match the energy, you rise above it. You say, I don't accept being spoken to that way, and you mean it. Not with threats, not with drama, just certainty. And then you redirect your focus. Go train, call a friend, write, create, live like a man with boundaries. Respect isn't earned through compliance, it's earned through alignment. Marcus Aurelius said, be one. That means being whole, your thoughts, actions, and words in harmony. A man who doesn't shift with the wind just to be liked. A man who values being respected more than being needed. Assertiveness isn't about being aggressive. It's about being clear. It's saying no without guilt. It's choosing silence when arguments offer no growth. It's walking away not to punish her, but to protect your standards. And that shift changes everything. Because when she sees that your time, your peace, your values are non-negotiable, she either rises to meet them or she leaves. And either outcome is a win. You don't want someone who only stays because she can walk over you. You want someone who chooses you because she can't help but admire you. Modern psychology reinforces this. Evolutionary studies show that emotional strength, consistency, direction, purpose is more attractive than affection. Women are wired to feel safe with stability, and stability isn't soft, it's solid. So if you want loyalty, don't perform love, embody respect, and let your boundaries do the choosing for you. Number 6. You were never her future. It's easy to get caught in the illusion. The way she opens up to you, the late-night confessions, the flirty texts that feel electric, the subtle hints of what if. You start to think maybe, just maybe, you're different. Maybe you're the exception, the man she's been waiting for, the one she'll finally leave it all behind for. But here's the harsh truth you've been avoiding. You were never her future. You were her escape, a break in the routine, an emotional pressure valve she turned to when her marriage stopped feeling alive but still offered stability. You were the safe danger, a fantasy she could explore without consequences, because she knew exactly how far she'd let it go. She shares dreams with you, but never a plan. She talks about how unhappy she is, but never takes steps to change her situation. You invest your time, your energy, your hope. She invests just enough attention to keep you orbiting. You mistake her interest for intention. But interest is cheap. Commitment costs, and she's never paying it. Psychologists Baumeister and Vos, 2004, called this out long ago. Emotional affairs are often less about love and more about escape. They offer a woman relief from boredom, stress, or identity loss, not a new beginning. That's why she's warm one moment and cold the next. She isn't indecisive. She's using you to feel something, anything. And the longer you stay, the more you betray yourself. You start to shrink your own life to fit the shadow of her maybe. You delay dating real women. You hesitate on taking that job in another city. You fantasize about a future she'll never deliver. Not because she's cruel, but because she never promised you anything real. You just wanted it to be real. So what do? You reclaim your future. You stop waiting for clarity she will never offer. If she keeps delaying, you say, "I'm building a life that matters to me. Let me know when you've made a decision," and then you go. Not out of bitterness, but out of alignment. You go train harder. You book the flight. You double down on your mission. You stop living in her fantasy and return to your truth. Marcus Aurelius said it best. Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. That includes her silence, her confusion, her mixed signals. That's her chaos. It doesn't belong to you. The moment you pull your energy out of her story, you get your power back. You start showing up for yourself, not for someone who only saw you as a temporary thrill. You stop being the supporting character in her movie and become the author of your own. Because the truth is, when a woman truly sees you as her future, she doesn't leave you guessing. She clears the path. She shows up. She chooses you without conditions. Anything less is distraction. So walk away, not to punish her, but to protect your future, and build one so compelling that fantasy has no place in it, only purpose. Number 7. Her game, your gamble. She doesn't need to say the words. Her inconsistency says it all. One day she's fire texting you with passion, reminding you how you make her feel alive. The next, she's a ghost, working on her marriage or needing space. And somehow, you find yourself adjusting your emotions to the rhythm of her confusion, like a gambler pulling a lever, hoping for the jackpot. But you don't realize it's not a game of chance, it's a game of control, her control. This kind of emotional ping-pong has a name. Psychologists call it breadcrumbing, offering just enough attention to to keep someone close, but never enough to satisfy. She dangles the possibility of intimacy, of something more, just beyond reach. You lean in, hoping this time will be different, but it never is. Because she's not building anything with you. She's maintaining leverage. According to Robert Cialdini's Principles of Persuasion, intermittent reinforcement is one of the most powerful psychological hooks. It's the same tactic casinos use. Give a reward now and then, unpredictably, and the player stays glued to the machine. Not because they're winning, because they're hoping. And hope is addictive, especially when disguised as potential love. You tell yourself she's just confused, that maybe you can help her find clarity, that if you're patient, if you keep being supportive, she'll finally choose you. But she won't. Because this isn't about choice, it's about control. She's not confused, she's benefiting. Every time you respond to a "Hey stranger" text, after 3 days of silence, you reinforce the game. Every time you cancel plans because she suddenly wants to talk, you place another bet on a losing hand. And every time you ignore your own needs for the thrill of her attention, you gamble your peace of mind. The Stoics warned us about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When your thoughts are hijacked by someone else's emotional inconsistency, your happiness becomes collateral damage." So here's what you do. You stop playing. You stop giving energy to chaos. When she reaches out after vanishing, you don't rush to reply. You don't ask what went wrong. You don't try to fix it. You calmly say, "I value clarity. I'm moving forward." And then you actually move forward. You start showing up for your own life. You commit to something, anything that's yours. A workout routine, a writing habit, a business goal. You schedule your time like it matters, because it does. You surround yourself with people who are present, consistent, and real. Because love doesn't come in breadcrumbs. It comes in presence, respect, intention, and you deserve nothing less. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you start attracting better. Not because you've become colder, but because you've become clearer. You don't need her chaos. You don't need her games. You don't need to gamble with your self-worth to feel alive. You just need to choose yourself and let the silence that follows be the sound of freedom. Number 8. The man she won't betray. She doesn't betray the man she respects, not because he's flawless, rich, or always agreeable, but because he moves with a quiet strength that makes betrayal feel like self-sabotage. He doesn't chase. He doesn't plead. He doesn't beg to be chosen. He simply lives as if he is the prize, and sooner or later, she feels it. There's something powerful about a man who doesn't flinch when tested, who doesn't raise his voice when disrespected, but simply walks away. Not out of anger, but out of standards. A man like that doesn't need to teach her a lesson. His absence becomes the lesson. Modern psychology calls this emotional self-regulation, a core of emotional intelligence. According to Goleman, a man who maintains his emotional state under pressure communicates authority, and women respond to that. Not always consciously, but instinctively. Respect stems from strength, not the kind that intimidates, but the kind that leads silently, purposefully. When a woman sees a man calmly refuse to engage in her chaos, something shifts. If she yells and he doesn't react, if she tries to make him jealous and he doesn't bite, if she disrespects him and he simply says, "I choose who gets my energy," and turns his focus to the gym, his business, or a higher vision of himself, she doesn't forget that. Because deep down she knows he won't tolerate anything less than alignment with his values. And here's the paradox. When he doesn't need her validation, she begins to seek his approval, not out of manipulation, but because she senses that his presence is earned, not handed out. This is why the man who lives for his mission becomes the man she doesn't want to lose. He doesn't orbit her world, he invites her into his. He's not reactive to her moods. He's anchored in principle. He doesn't convince her to stay. His life is already moving with or without her. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's the man she won't betray. Not because he controls her, but because he controls himself. Because loyalty is not just about affection, it's about admiration. And admiration is born when she sees a man uphold a standard that even she can't shake. When he says, "I'm not for everyone," and that's fine. When he lives that line, not just in words, but in action, she realizes he's different. Not because he said so, but because she felt so. So don't focus on being liked. Focus on being respected. Let your presence communicate that your life is full. Let your silence say more than your neediness ever could. Let your discipline be the wall no betrayal can climb. Because the man who honors his values, who values his peace, his direction, his purpose above all, is not easily replaced. And that's the man she won't betray. Here's what you need to remember, brother. She doesn't betray the man who's unpredictable. She betrays the one who betrayed himself. The man who stopped leading, stopped growing, stopped demanding respect in silence, not with threats. Marriage doesn't make you immune to betrayal. It just makes the stakes higher and the illusions deeper. If she's drifting, testing, or playing with emotional fire, your job isn't to chase her. It's to become a man she wouldn't dare risk losing. And if she already crossed the line, you don't need revenge. You need clarity, detachment, power. Because nothing is sexier than a man who walks away from drama like it's beneath him, because it is. So ask yourself, am I still her choice or just her excuse to escape boredom? And if you've made it this far, you already know the answer. If this video slapped you back into your masculine core, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. I protect my peace, no matter who tries to take it. Welcome to Stoic Love, where men don't play defense. They become the storm.